In the past 72 hours, I have struggled with my broken body, doing my best to find a way out from the clutches of fate. The side effects of the special injection drug spread wildly throughout the body, causing internal organs to continue to deteriorate. The injection forcibly blocked all sensations of pain, leaving only a bitter, sweet taste lingering in my throat. I witnessed Wen Yuan and Xinjie getting involved in a struggle. At that time, I was coughing up blood, and the handkerchief in my hand was soaked with dark purple bloodstains. Xinjie only took a half step back, and Wen Yuan immediately stood in front of him. Gu Qingyuan, Gu Xiyu, and Gu Xingwan all stood behind Xinjie, their sharp eyes fixed on me. Gu Xingwan's lips curled into a cold, mocking smile. Gu Xi, do you really want to act like you've been betrayed by someone else, in order to win everyone's sympathy? My throat was choked by the smell of blood. I didn't scream or argue anymore. In the past few years, I have hysterically argued countless times, but all that resulted in was their growing determination to side with Xinjie. I suppressed the surging emotions within me, and my voice became slightly hoarse due to the internal bleeding. The engagement ends here. If you really want to be together, then let's be together. As these words were spoken, the tense vigilance on the faces of the three sisters suddenly disappeared, and expressions of relief appeared on their faces. Gu Qingyuan exhaled deeply. You finally understand. It's useless to force things that don't belong to you. There are 48 hours left before my life reaches zero. Breaking up the engagement didn't bring any peace at all. Instead, new demands were imposed upon me immediately. They forced me to hand over the paintings that took me years to create, and I was forced to attend the prestigious art award ceremony with Xinjie instead of me. That nomination was the result of countless nights of hard work by me. I didn't argue anything, and simply handed over the keys to the art studio. Everything in the studio, including all the items left by my parents, belongs to Xinjie. Gu Xiyu looked at me, his tone carrying a hint of authoritative exhortation. Gu Xi, please listen to me. It's not necessary for us to make a scene like this. The tragedy that occurred 5 days ago flashed through my mind. My foster brother, Gu Chen, was kidnapped by kidnappers, who demanded a huge ransom. The Gu family had already gone bankrupt, and we simply couldn't afford such a sum of money. It was at that moment that my three sisters made a decision. They decided to use me as a hostage in place of Gu Chen. A cold, mechanical voice sound echoed in my mind. Please note, host. After Gu Xi's death, the system restrictions imposed on the three sisters will be lifted. They will now regain their full sense of self-awareness. At this moment, I fully realize that I am living within the setting of a novel. My sisters have all been manipulated by the system, turning into puppets that serve the will of the protagonist, Xinjie. The Gu family went bankrupt, Gu Xiyu lost his right hand, and Gu Xingwan became blind in one eye. All these disasters stem from Xinjie. I conceived a determined idea, to use my own death to tear apart the shackles that bind my sisters. The torment on the cruise ship pressed down upon me layer by layer. I used all my remaining savings to buy that special injection. After the injection, my pain-sensing nerves were completely paralyzed, leaving me with only 72 hours left to live. When there were only 24 hours left, Gu Qingyuan called me. Xinjie has been in a bad mood recently. We need to take him out to get some fresh air. You've already acted like you're sick enough. Now it's time for you to go home and take care of those green plants that you've been keeping. My body is at its limits. Every breath I take brings with it a dull pain caused by the wear and tear of my internal organs. I respond indifferently. After the storm passed, another year has passed. My personal art exhibition tour has already visited 7 cities in China. Now, I'm finalizing contracts for exhibitions at 3 art galleries overseas. My career is progressing smoothly, and praise from everyone around me keeps coming. The media label me as a genius artist who has achieved a rebirth. Wherever I go, there are plenty of opportunities to exhibit my work. Money, fame, and control over the industry's discourse, all these things that Xinjie tried to obtain at all costs, now completely belong to me. What outsiders see is merely my seemingly endless glory. Only I myself know that that scar hasn't completely healed since the judgment was made. Occasionally, I still have nightmares. In those dreams, it's still the sealed cabin of the cruise ship. The electric shock feels like it's piercing through my numb body. There's also the smell of rotten food, and the constant repetition of the cold words of advice from my sisters in my mind. When I wake up, I'm covered in cold sweat, and my chest feels so tight that I can't breathe properly. I didn't try to escape. Regular psychological counseling continued without interruption. Painting became my best way to express myself. I no longer dwell on the pain and hatred that once plagued me. Most of what I paint are landscapes, bustling streets, and the warmth of human life. But I know that it's impossible to completely forget what happened. Hatred can be let go, but the wounds I've suffered cannot be erased completely. I have moved away from my old painting studio. I rented an entire floor of space by the river, with excellent lighting and a spacious layout. Security and surveillance measures are top tier. All original manuscripts, drafts, and creative materials are backed up in multiple encrypted formats. After suffering a major loss due to someone stealing my work, I will not give anyone another chance to take advantage of me. I deliberately avoided all things related to the Gu family. I blocked all contact information, and avoided any situations where I might encounter Gu Qinyan and the others. I don't hate them, but I certainly won't forgive them either. The best outcome is to never see each other again, and each of us continues to live their own lives. I thought that life would continue to progress smoothly like this, but the aftermath of Xinjie's actions still spread from within the prison walls. That afternoon, while I was in the studio working on organizing the artwork for the overseas tour, the phone at my law firm rang. It was my agent, Lawyer Zhou, and his tone sounded quite serious. Gu Ci, something happened. After Xinjie's appeal was rejected while in prison, he didn't stay quiet. He wrote a manuscript of several thousand words during his time in prison. Through prison connections, he spread this information among his former friends from the same circle. I held the phone in my hand, my fingers paused for a moment, and I stopped the action of checking the documents with my hands. What is written in the content? He completely distorted the facts. Zhou Lu's voice came through the phone receiver. He portrayed himself as an innocent victim, claiming that all the disasters were orchestrated by you. He said that because of your jealousy of his talent, and because of your resentment towards his family, you deliberately fabricated recordings, chat messages, and transaction documents to frame him for crimes. He even made up stories, claiming that the kidnapping incident was actually a self-inflicted tragedy orchestrated by you. After hearing this, a sense of cold absurdity arose in my heart. Having lost everything and being imprisoned, he still showed no trace of remorse. Instead, he continued to try his best to destroy me. He doesn't have any real new evidence in his hands at all. All of his claims are based on subjective statements, continued Zhou. But he has gathered a group of loyal fans over the years, along with a few old acquaintances who have benefited from his kindness. These people have obtained this handwritten confession, and it has been quietly circulated within the art community. It's now starting to cause doubts among those who once believed all the evidence you presented at the awards ceremony. There are already some online discussions suggesting that you were responsible for spreading false information and distorting facts. I lean against the edge of the desk, looking out at the flowing river outside the window. I should have expected this. People like Xinjie are extremely arrogant and paranoid by nature. They will never admit their own failures. They can accept losing wealth and freedom, but they can't accept that the perfect image they've built their entire lives is completely destroyed by me. As long as there's even a chance, they will do anything to prevent that from happening. Even if they end up trapped in prison, they will still try to drag me down with them. The judicial judgment has already taken effect. All evidence has been notarized and filed. Just his one handwritten statement won't be enough to change the outcome of the case. I spoke slowly. It's true that legal measures cannot overturn the judgment made by the court. Zhou analyzed the situation objectively. But public opinion is different. Public memories fade quickly. After a year has passed, many netizens can no longer remember the complete chain of evidence from that time. With those people deliberately manipulating the narrative, it will gradually blur public perception. This will have a significant negative impact on your personal reputation and your overseas exhibition plans. The overseas art museums have already sent inquiries to us. They received this self-written statement from an anonymous source, and we need to respond to them. This is exactly the plan of Shinjie. He knows that he won't be able to leave prison, and there's no hope of getting his criminal convictions overturned. But he wants to destroy everything I've worked for to achieve. If he can't win the lawsuit, he'll try to sow discord in the public opinion, to cast blame on me. Even if he can't clear his name, he still wants to knock me down from my pedestal. Even if there's no chance of winning the case, he still wants to keep me from peace. I understand. Please send me a copy of the materials, I said calmly. I will handle this matter myself. After hanging up the phone, not long afterwards, an email was sent to me. The attachment contained scanned copies of the handwritten documents written by Shinjie. It was a lengthy document, with tens of thousands of words. Every word and sentence was distorted. All his past records of plagiarism, exploitation of others for personal gain, and malicious harm to others were erased. He was portrayed as a kind and gentle person, a poor genius who had suffered from his own brother's malicious revenge. Every word in the document was filled with resentment. After finishing reading, I simply closed the document. There was no anger in my heart at all, only a sense of coldness and indifference. In my previous life, I was swallowed up by such a wave of public opinion. I was completely helpless, being forced step by step towards death. In this new life, I will not allow rumors to continue to destroy me. If he really wants to create chaos, then I will completely crush that last vestige of his false mask. I didn't act on impulse and immediately wrote a long reply in response. An impulsive defense would only lead me into his pre-planned traps, thereby reinforcing the claim that I was angry and ashamed. I immediately contacted Lao Zhou to gather all the necessary documents for archiving purposes. These documents included the original recording files, records of chat conversations from the original devices used for recording, reports from forensic experts regarding bank transaction records, and extracts from the case files related to the kidnapper incident. All these documents were carefully organized and prepared. At the same time, I also contacted that senior colleague who had supported me back then, to get all the relevant information in a timely manner. Just as I was in full swing of planning everything, an unexpected incident occurred. In the evening, the receptionist at the art studio called from the internal line. Mr. Gu, there's a woman downstairs who claims to be Gu Qingyuan. She wants to see you. She said that the matter related to the rumors spread by Shinjie only takes a few minutes of your time, and she doesn't want to leave. The security personnel have already stopped her in the hallway, but she still refuses to go away. Hearing this name, I frowned. I have already set a boundary between myself and them, agreeing not to disturb each other anymore. Now, Gu Qingyuan has come looking for me again. I remained silent for a while. What about the rumors and gossip surrounding Shinjie? Why did Gu Qingyuan get involved in all this? Let her come up. It's the reception room. Just give her 15 minutes. A few minutes later, the door to the reception room was opened. Gu Qingyuan walked in. After a year, she had changed a lot. She no longer wore the delicate and elegant attire she used to have. She wore a simple, plain-colored coat, her hair was neatly tied back, and her face was without any makeup. Her eyes were filled with tired, red veins. After selling her property to receive compensation, the hard life of an ordinary civil servant was clearly visible in her expressions. When she saw me, she stood awkwardly in the middle of the room, without sitting down on her own. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. I know that I shouldn't bother you again. Her voice was very low. Let's get straight to the point. There's only 15 minutes left. I sat down opposite the receptionist, without any unnecessary flattery or pleasantries. Gu Qingyuan tightly held the canvas bag in her hand, her fingertips turning white. I know about the matter of Xinjie handing materials out of the prison. I've seen those handwritten statements that were circulated among those people in secret. She looked at me with a complex expression in her eyes. I understand what he wants to do. He wants to disrupt public opinion and destroy your reputation. This has nothing to do with you, I replied calmly. You two have already settled your accounts with me. Yes, we have settled all matters between us. But this matter cannot be ignored without me being involved. Gu Qingyan's breathing became slightly more rapid. In that autobiography, Xinjie used many of the words I said during the time when I was controlled by the system as evidence. He extracted fragments of those words, twisting them to prove that I was biased and deliberately framing him. I raised my eyebrows slightly. This was something that I hadn't anticipated at all. It's not just that. Gu Qingyuan continued. That year, Xinjie also sent messages from prison. He tried to contact me, Xiyu, and Xingwan. He still wanted to trick us into coming out publicly and testifying against you. Both Xiyu and Xingwan refused. But I'm worried that he might continue to spread more edited versions of those old chat messages. I just watched her quietly. Did you come here today in order to plead for him? Gu Qingyuan shook her head violently, and her eyes instantly turned red. No! I would never help him. After the system disappeared, I spent all those days and nights thinking about everything that had happened in the past. I remember clearly how I forced you to give up your paintings again and again, how I stood with Xinjie and hurt you. I bear this guilt, and it's difficult for me to sleep peacefully. I have no right to ask for your forgiveness, but I can't just watch as Xinjie distorts the truth and harms you again. She took out a stack of printed paper documents from her canvas bag and placed them in the middle of the table. These are all the original and photocopies of the letters that Xinjie sent to me throughout this year. I have kept every single one of them. In each letter, he showed no signs of regret at all. He complained about the unfairness of fate, resented you, and encouraged us to step forward and help him get his case reopened. There's also a portion of the chat messages that were stored on my phone but never made public. The announcements during the award ceremonies only showed part of those messages. Here, we have the complete record of all the conversations, without any cuts or omissions. I brought everything this far, and I leave it all to you. The paper was spread out on the table. Each of the letters sent from the prison was written in a distorted manner, perfectly capturing the resentment that never faded from Xinjie's heart. There were also complete copies of old chat records, which accurately reproduced all the conversations from that time, with no instances of interference or manipulation. These are very strong supplementary pieces of evidence. I looked down at the documents on the tabletop, then raised my eyes to look at Gu Qingyuan. Why do you have to do this? You could simply stay out of it and not get involved at all. Once these things become public, all those problems you've had with the system will be exposed to the public once more. Your already difficult life will only get worse. People on the internet won't be able to distinguish between those who are controlled by the system and those who aren't. They will still continue to criticize you. Gu Qingyuan's shoulders trembled slightly, and she pulled her lips back in a bitter expression. I know. I'm aware of what will happen after the matter is made public. But this is the only thing I can do. The legal consequences can be settled through a judgment, but the moral debt will have to be paid off gradually. I don't expect you to forgive me for this. I just don't want to be just an observer anymore. She paused for a moment, her voice very low. Xiyu and Xingwan also know about this matter. They don't dare to come and see you in person, for fear of upsetting you. But they have compiled all the old communication records they have, and I brought them along with me. We won't be involved in any interviews or trying to win sympathy from the public. All the evidence is yours to handle. How you decide to use them is entirely up to you. There is a thick stack of documents on the desk, feeling quite heavy. This is a choice they made out of their hearts, after breaking free from the system. But this compensation cannot heal the wounds that have already been inflicted. I gathered all the materials aside. I accept these proofs. But I want to make it clear. Accepting these doesn't mean I let go of my past. Your efforts to make amends are your own choices. It doesn't mean I am willing to forgive you completely. What kind of backlash will you face in the future? You will have to bear that on your own. I won't speak on your behalf, nor will I defend you in any way. I understand everything. I really do understand. Gu Qingyuan nodded, a trace of sadness passing through her eyes. I don't expect your support anymore. After this is over, I will completely disappear from your life. I will never bother you again in this lifetime. The 15-minute limit is almost approaching. Gu Qingyuan didn't stay any longer. She didn't complain about her grievances, nor reminisce about her family. She stood up, gave me a slight bow, and quickly left the reception room. I was the only one left in the reception room. Outside the window, the sky had completely darkened, while the lights of the city were shining brightly. I began to review all the documents I just received. In each letter from Xinjie, there was evident unwillingness and madness. Even now, he continues to live in the illusion of being a victim, created by himself. He believes that his talents, opportunities, family ties, everything in this world should belong to him. I am merely a stumbling block in his path. I have sent this new evidence to lawyer Zhou at the same time. Now, the initiative is back in our hands. After reviewing the materials, Zhou Lu spoke in a much more relaxed tone. Previously, we could only rely on the existing judicial documents to counter the rumors. But now, with this letter written by Xinjie himself, as well as the complete and unaltered chat records, we can take the initiative and completely refute his claims. Don't try to write long, emotional descriptions of my hardships. I made it clear that there's no need to talk about the hardships I've endured, nor to try to evoke sympathy through dramatic descriptions of my experiences on the cruise ship. All the evidence should be presented clearly, using objective facts as the basis for our arguments. We need to present the forensic report, original recording files, scans of his handwritten letters from prison, and complete chat records. Everything should be presented clearly and simply, with only facts being discussed. Attaining sympathy has never been my goal. What I want is for everyone to clearly see the true nature of Xinjie, and to completely crush his attempts to manipulate public opinion. At the same time, I contacted overseas art museums and sent them the entire set of evidence, in order to dispel their doubts and ensure the success of the overseas exhibition tour. 2 days later, we released all the supplementary evidence at once through our official lawyer account. There are no sensationalistic essays, no attempts at emotional expression. Instead, evidence is presented in an orderly manner, summaries of effective criminal judgments, explanations of various pieces of evidence from forensic assessments, scans of handwritten letters sent by Xinjie from prison, and complete records of conversations provided by the 3 Gu sisters. Clear and straightforward, these are undeniable facts. Once the post was published, it instantly sparked a huge reaction on the internet. The wave of doubts that was previously stirred up by those who supported Xinjie was instantly repelled back. When the public learned that Xinjie was imprisoned, they found him still writing letters in the prison, encouraging others to help him get his case overturned. His letters were filled with obsessive resentment. The so-called innocent victim lie was thus completely debunked. The small community that previously quietly spread that account of the events suddenly ceased its activities. Some of the gullible bystanders suddenly realized what was going on. A few die-hard fans continued to try to fight back, but they had no real evidence to counter those claims anymore. Their voices became increasingly weak. The direction of public opinion has completely changed. Meanwhile, in Xinjie's case, the prison administration received feedback from the public regarding their efforts to create a counterattack in the media. They realized that their elaborate plan to create a public backlash had completely failed. After learning that Gu Qingyuan had handed over the evidence, Xinjie became completely overwhelmed with emotions inside the prison. This led to a conflict, and he was sent to solitary confinement. When Zhou Lu sent me this message, his tone was filled with emotion. All his options for escape have been cut off. His appeal was rejected, and his efforts to manipulate public opinion have failed completely. There's nothing left to play with anymore. After this period of confinement ends, he will have to continue serving his sentence in a proper manner. There's no other way out. After hearing this, I felt extremely calm inside. This is the path he chose himself. From the beginning, he schemed to exploit my talents, to manipulate the Gu family, to commit evil step by step. All of this is his own fault. After the turmoil subsided, another half-month passed. One evening, after finishing the preparations for the touring exhibition, I was driving home. On the way, I received an anonymous email. When I opened it, it was a message from Gu Xingwan. The text was very short. The turmoil caused by Xinjie has come to an end. The three of us will leave this city. From now on, we will no longer be visible to you. Wish you peace and safety every year. There were no apologies, no attempts to seek forgiveness. After the email was sent, the account was completely deactivated. After that, I never received any further messages from them. Later, I heard from Zhou that Gu Qingyuan quit her local administrative job and moved to a small town in the southwest region. Gu Xiu continued to work in a pharmacy, and later joined a medical team dedicated to providing healthcare services in remote towns. Gu Xingwan stayed elsewhere, completely cutting off all her old connections. The three of them now live in different places, quietly living ordinary lives, and no longer appear in any public view. Gu Chun occasionally sends a simple holiday greeting during festivals. That's all he does. He never mentions anything from the past, nor tries to mediate between his sisters. He maintains the right balance in his relationships. Days have once again returned to a calm state. Soon, the overseas tour exhibition began as scheduled. Standing in an art gallery in a foreign country, my paintings hang on tall, white walls, attracting visitors from all over the world. Flashlights illuminate the paintings from time to time, and invitations for interviews come one after another. I stand at my own height, with fame, success, and a stable life. The name of Xinjie was gradually forgotten by those around him. Inside the high walls, he spent the remaining years of his life in prison. Everything he once dreamed of, reputation, talent, and the admiration of others, all disappeared without a trace. I have avenged myself. All those who once exploited and harmed me have now received their due punishment. Even though I stand in the noisy exhibition hall, watching the people passing by, I know deep down that achieving revenge doesn't mean the wounds have completely healed. Those nightmares still come occasionally, and the pain I've endured won't ever completely fade away. Retribution destroyed everything related to the perpetrator, but it couldn't erase the pain I once suffered. But I no longer remain imprisoned by the past. In the middle of the night, I returned to the apartment where I was staying temporarily. I took out my sketchbook with me. There were no depictions of hatred or suffering. As the pen moved across the paper, what I depicted was the sunset over the river, the evening breeze in the mountains, and the life of ordinary people. I have taken back my own life with my own hands. Those miserable pasts are just part of my past. They no longer define my future. I'm about to die. I need to find someone else. The doctor's warnings still echo in my ears. I need to receive this injection now. A 72-hour countdown has begun. If I pay for it immediately, there's still a chance of survival. But the money in my pocket is barely enough to buy this one injection. The doctor sighed heavily. Your second sister is a doctor herself. Your medical records cannot be hidden from her. I gave a bitter smile. Even if the medical records were laid out before Gu Xiu, she would still not take them seriously at all. My life and death mean nothing to them. On the day when the kidnappers took away, our family was in a desperate situation. Gu Xiu publicly proposed that I replace Gu Qin in his place. Gu Qin is not in good health. Only you can help him through this. Don't worry, we will bring you back in a few days. They tied me up and handed me over to the kidnappers. The river roared loudly behind me. I watched helplessly as Gu Qin was rescued safely. He looked at his sisters with gratitude and thanked them. System warnings rang out incessantly, and the careless voice of Shinjia could be heard through the speakers. I don't need to actually kill him. I just want him to understand that in times of crisis, the sisters will always side with me. I struggled desperately, yet there was still a faint hope of some kind of humble family affection in my heart. But they stood there, watching helplessly as the kidnappers dragged me onto the ship, clearly waiting for me to fall into hell. During the 4-day, 5-night cruise, I spent less than 3 hours of sleep each day. I had to do everything: cleaning, cooking. If anything went wrong, electric shocks and whips were used to punish me. Their videos of me suffering electric shocks were spread online, and countless strangers viciously insulted me. Leftover food was forced down my throat, and the electric currents damaged my internal organs. Every step I took felt like a knife cutting through my flesh. During those few days, my 3 sisters accompanied Shinjia to shopping malls and amusement parks, busy trying to help him overcome his so-called psychological fears. When it was time to pick me up as promised, none of them came. I rushed to the hospital, covered in injuries. The doctors told me that I had little time left. In that state of near-death despair, I made up my mind to use my own death as a means to free my sisters from their chains. My consciousness fell into darkness. I thought everything would end there. There was no afterlife, no chance of turning things around, only complete oblivion. The suffocating feeling disappeared suddenly, and my chest was filled with fresh air once more. I suddenly opened my eyes. The smell of disinfectant penetrates my nostrils, and the familiar image of the hospital room appears before my eyes. The scars left by the cruise ship's impacts, as well as the burns caused by electric shocks, have all disappeared. The intense pain caused by the internal injuries is no longer present at all. I lift my hand, my skin is intact, and my fingers are filled with strength. The mechanical system prompts in my mind completely disappeared. Those memories that were sealed and blocked by the system now flood back into my mind like a tidal wave. I didn't use death to break the chains that bind others. I've died once, and now, with all my deep hatred still alive, I have returned from death, fully reborn. The phone on the bedside table lit up. Gu Shiyu sent a message. Shinjia is in a very bad mood. After you return, please give him your paintings. The tickets for the award ceremony must be given to him. There's no need to cause trouble between the family members. We shouldn't let our relationships be damaged by such conflicts. It was the news that I received 3 hours before I handed over the keys to the art studio in my previous life. In my previous life, I was covered in wounds, still holding on to delusions about family affection. I compromised step by step, giving up half of my life's efforts, and gradually leading myself towards death. This time, I managed to survive. I know that Gu Qingyuan, Gu Shiyu, and Gu Xingwan are still tightly controlled by the system. They will still favor Shinjia without any conditions. Their actions are certainly influenced by external forces, but the harm they inflict upon me is not even a fraction of what really exists. I will never risk my life again, just to deal with the guilt that will come after their awakening. Guilt cannot save me from death. Revenge is the only thing I can do. The door to the ward was opened, and Gu Qingyuan walked in, her face wearing a seemingly tired but gentle expression. Xiao Xia, you've woken up. How do you feel? I lean against the head of the bed, without showing any signs of weakness or compromise. My gaze is calm and steady as I look directly at her, seeing through the seemingly gentle exterior and the calculated, utilitarian motives beneath it. Just say what you want right away. Gu Qingyuan was momentarily stunned, but quickly regained her usual demeanor as a sister. It's the same situation as before. Shinjia felt wronged, and your group of award-winning paintings were very important to him. By handing over the keys to the studio, this matter can be settled. We're still family after all. A family? I repeated these 3 words. The torment of the cruise ship, the despair of the kidnappers, the pain of internal decay. All these thoughts surged in my mind. When those kidnappers took Guchun away, why didn't you consider us to be part of the family? Gu Qingyuan's face suddenly turned pale. That was a last-minute improvisation. We really didn't have any other options. We really wanted to save you after all. You want to save me? I raised my eyebrows, my voice low and sharp. During those 5 days when I was being abused on the cruise ship, you spent time with Xinjie, enjoying food, drinks, and other pleasures. Videos of my abuse were spread everywhere online. Everyone criticized me for being crazy and paranoid. You didn't say a single word in my defense. Is that what you mean by wanting to save me? She was left speechless by my sharp remarks. She could only repeat the standard phrases that were instilled in her by the system. Why can't you let go of the past? Xinjie is the person who truly deserves to be taken care of. A smile appeared on my face, but there wasn't even a trace of warmth in my eyes. So, my life, all my efforts, my very existence, should be given way to him, right? Gu Qingyuan's expression became completely cold, and his threats became openly apparent. Gu Ci, do you really have to be so stubborn? If you refuse to hand over the paintings, then the few connections that remain in the Gu family will no longer be in your favor. In my previous life, I was bound by the shackles of family ties. Afraid of completely breaking away from those blood-related bonds, I chose to compromise. Now, after having died once, there is nothing left to lose. My connections. You can use them all to win over Xinjie. My paintings, my studio, everything I own, none of it will be given to him at all. Gu Qingyuan rushed out of the door, leaving immediately. I picked up my phone and tried to sort out all the clues that were ignored in my previous life. After my memories were unlocked, I clearly realized that behind Xinjie's seemingly respectable facade, there were countless corrupt dealings going on. During the award ceremony, he had already started working behind the scenes to steal my achievements. Gu Shiyu suffered an injury in the right hand, and Gu Xingwan became blind in one eye. Both accidents were the result of his scheming. The Gu family's bankruptcy was also caused by his secret exploitation of their resources. The system covered up all the truths, and the world only saw his seemingly gentle and pitiable appearance. I have duplicated all the clues multiple times, storing them both in the cloud and on encrypted hard drives. Simply refusing to hand over the paintings isn't enough. I need to wait for the right moment. The foundation of the system relies on my death. As long as I remain alive, the system will continue to be disrupted and unstable. Soon after, Gu Xiu called. The calmness of a doctor's profession was overshadowed by an overwhelming sense of pressure. Gu Ji, did you argue with your older sister? Follow my advice and don't get upset. Giving up the painting studio won't do any harm to you. Second sister, I spoke slowly. Have you seen my medical records? Gu Shuyu took a short break. I've reviewed your examination results. It seems that you're just experiencing some emotional distress, nothing serious. The painful sensation of the cruise ship's electric shock seems to have resurfaced in my memories. In my previous life, I suffered severe internal injuries and bleeding everywhere, leading to my death. That medical record is right here before you. You ignore it. The system tells you that my suffering isn't even comparable to the slightest discomfort that Xinjie feels. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. She couldn't understand what I was saying about my previous life. She simply thought of me as a crazy and strange person. Gu Ci, are you losing your mind? I won't argue with you. Please think carefully before making any decisions. Don't force us to choose something that's too difficult to handle. Call ended. I am well aware that this is not the time for a complete reckoning yet. The system still confines the three sisters. Even if I revealed the whole truth to them, they still wouldn't understand. Fighting head-on will only leave me in a passive position. I must protect myself, preserve the resources I've accumulated over time, and gain a position of strength. I will wait for the cracks in the system to widen, and then tear apart all of Xinjie's disguises. I will take away everything he's stolen by force. As for the three sisters, I will no longer try to save them with their lives. After the system collapses, they will have to bear the consequences of their actions. Family bonds have been shattered forever. I will never look back. After completing the discharge procedures, I immediately returned to the studio. This is the place where I spent countless days and nights working hard to create these paintings. The paints and unfinished works are all still in their original positions. In my previous life, when the key was handed over, Shinji arbitrarily altered my original manuscripts, turning my hard work into something that belonged to him. The first thing I do when entering the room is to reinforce the door locks and install hidden monitoring systems. Every manuscript is marked with unique anti-counterfeiting features. Draft notes, recording sessions, and original layers of data are all encrypted and stored in multiple layers of security. Having suffered great losses in my previous life, I will not give anyone the chance to steal my creations. In less than half a day, Gu Xingwan rushed into the painting studio without waiting for an invitation. Gu Ci, do you really want to make things worse for everyone, causing a lot of trouble? I was sitting in front of the easel, organizing my drawing materials, without even lifting my head. You need to knock on the door before entering. Gu Xingwan walked quickly towards me, waved his hand to knock the paintbrushes off the table, and several brushes fell onto the floor. Shinji suffers from insomnia every night, and his mental state is extremely poor. All this is because you refuse to let him display his works at the exhibition. We are your sisters, do we really want to harm you? Give him the opportunity to display his work at the awards ceremony, and then everything will be settled. I looked up at her. In my previous life, there were countless online comments that slandered me. Most of these comments were spread by Gu Xingwan through her social media accounts, trying to create a false narrative. She was controlled by the system, and she willingly helped Shinji clear the obstacles in his way, even at the cost of damaging her own brother. He suffers from insomnia and has poor mental health. It's his own problem. Why should I be responsible for treating his problems? How can you be so selfish? Gu Xingwan frowned, his tone filled with disappointment. But with your skills, you can still create more paintings in the future. Shinji is different. This opportunity is a life-saving chance for him. A chance to turn things around? Coldness surged in his chest. When I was on the cruise ship, suffering from electric shocks and eating leftover food, almost dying. Why didn't anyone give me a chance to turn things around? Gu Xingwan's expression changed instantly. That was an accident. No one could have predicted that things would turn out like this. Even after it happened, we still felt very upset. If it's uncomfortable, then go with him to the amusement park and buy luxury items as a way to pass the time, right? Watching thousands of netizens curse me, while holding the truth in my hands yet remaining silent. Is that really what makes me feel uncomfortable? I stood up, the pressure of my body pressing down upon me. She was forced to take a step back, her eyes avoiding me. The system can only alter the values, but cannot erase the facts that have already occurred. Faced with the evidence I presented, she couldn't find any words to refute it. What has already passed should be left behind. What can you do to change it now? I can't change the damage that has already been done, but I can prevent you from taking away everything that belongs to me again. I pointed at the door. This is not a place for you. Please leave. If you touch any of my personal items, the surveillance footage will be handed over to the lawyer immediately. Gu Xingwan could hardly believe her eyes. In the past, I always compromised and gave in to my relatives. But the strength and determination she shows now far exceeded her expectations. Gu Ci, do you really want to cause a fight with your family? It's you who keep forcing me to break my silence. Gu Xingwan glared at me fiercely, then walked away by slamming the door behind him. I bent down to pick up the paintbrushes on the ground. My fingers were cold. I knew this was just the beginning. The three sisters, driven by the system, won't stop until they achieve their goals. They will use the remaining connections of the Gu family in the art world to suppress me, spreading rumors to force me into submission. Xinjie will also use secret means to steal the awards from me. I didn't have to wait passively for oppression to come. I contacted those in the industry who appreciated my work, submitted some of my creative materials in advance, and continued to work hard on creating a series of paintings that could win awards. The glory that was taken away from me by Xinjie in my previous life should now belong to me. The award ceremony is getting closer, and negative rumors about me are starting to spread within the circle. People say that I'm rude and selfish, and that I only care about fame and family relationships. The direction of public opinion seems to be exactly the same as in my previous life. Gu Qingyuan, Gu Xiu, and Gu Xingwan stay behind the scenes, stirring up trouble. Xinjie maintains a calm and reserved demeanor, rarely making public statements. He lets the public opinion currents carry me along. At the industry cocktail party, I accidentally bumped into Xinjie. He was wearing a neatly tailored suit, surrounded by people from the industry. When he saw me walking over towards him, he wore a gentle smile on his face. Gu Ji, it's been a long time since we last met. Just say what you want right away. I know that the sisters have come to see you. Their words might have been too harsh. Xinjie spoke in a low voice, seemingly trying to understand me. I really don't want to take away your achievements. But my recent situation is not good, and this award holds special meaning for me. If you are willing to help me out, I can offer you a substantial compensation. He showed a magnanimous attitude, as if my continued refusal would be seen as a sign of narrow-mindedness. I looked at his face, which was perfectly disguised. Memories of the ordeal on the cruise ship, the bankruptcy of the Gu family, and the disasters that befell my sisters came to mind. All of these things were due to him. Compensation? My life, my hard work, all the suffering I've endured. What can you offer as compensation? Money, perhaps? Xinjie's eyebrows furrowed slightly, with a hint of darkness flickering in her eyes. But that darkness was quickly obscured by tenderness. Gu Xi, why do you always act with such hostility? Many things aren't what you think they are. Is it just my imagination? Soon there will be answers. I stepped aside to avoid him, and immediately left the banquet scene. I am very clear in my mind that this is not the time to expose his secrets. Xinjie has built a solid foundation for his persona over the years, and the system continues to help him cover up his mistakes. The evidence we have currently does not justify a decisive attack. Revealing his secrets too quickly could only lead to his downfall, and he might be accused of being jealous and trying to frame me. I must wait until the prestigious award ceremony, when I can stand at the top of the industry, holding all the honors and power, and then reveal all the evidence. That would be the perfect time to take revenge. On the way back, Gu Shu sent me a message, urging me to turn from a warning into something much more serious. Gu Xi, if you insist on going your own way and ignoring everyone else, when the entire community finally decides to block you out, don't come back to us to complain. I have locked my screen. In my previous life, when I was on the verge of death, I tried to beg for help, but all I got was indifference. From now on, I will not ask them for even a little bit of warmth. On the evening of the award ceremony, the venue was completely filled with people. I sat down in the audience, dressed in formal attire. Backstage, Xinjie and 3 of my sisters were still working out plans, convinced that public opinion could force me to make concessions. In the past few months, the attacks against me have been real and severe. Many partners were afraid of Gu family's connections and the numerous rumors, so they cancelled their collaborations one after another. Fortunately, my senior colleagues overruled all the objections and ensured that I could still participate in the exhibition. The creative orders I received helped me get through this difficult time. All the pressures were incorporated into my artwork, making it much more refined and profound compared to previous years. On the large screen, the host announced loudly, "This year's Best Creative Award goes to Gu Xi." Applause rang out loudly. I stood up and walked onto the stage, cutting through the crowd. As I glanced over to the backstage, I saw that Xinjie's gentle mask was broken. Gu Qingyan, Gu Xiu, and Gu Xingwan's faces turned rigid. They never expected that I would overcome all the obstacles and finally win this trophy. The spotlight fell on me, the microphone was placed in my hand, and countless eyes, both online and offline, converged upon me. According to convention, I should thank my family and seniors, and end the event in a proper manner. But I didn't do that. Holding the microphone in hand, a clear voice echoed through the speakers, reaching everyone in the room. When I received this award, I didn't feel any pure joy. Those works were almost not part of me at all. The entire room fell silent in an instant, and soft whispers spread throughout the space. My gaze was fixed on the backstage. Xinjie quickly adjusted his expression, putting on a look of pain and endurance, presumably expecting me to only complain about the theft of the work. But the evidence I had in hand was far more significant than that issue alone. Someone has coveted my creations. They use family ties as a means to pressure me into handing over my work. To protect another person, my loved ones even handed me over to kidnappers as a hostage. I suffered abuse, faced violent treatment from everyone around me. I almost lost my life. The scene was chaotic. Gu Qingyuan rushed forward, trying to interrupt the situation, but was stopped by the staff members. Gu Xiu looked extremely pale, while Gu Xingwan had his fists clenched tightly, his eyes filled with both panic and anger caused by the system's demands. Xinjie quietly took out his phone to contact the public relations staff outside the venue, trying to portray me as a man who has lost control of his emotions and fabricated facts. I had anticipated all of his actions from the beginning. Many people might think that these are lies I made up after I broke down. I raised my hand to signal the technicians behind the scene, and the large screen displayed a new image. The recording of the kidnappers' negotiations was played out. Gu Xiu suggested using me instead of Gu Qin. Xinjie's casual remark, "There's no need to actually kill him," echoed throughout the entire venue. After the recording ended, silence reigned supreme in the room. The scene continues to shift. Surveillance footage shows Gu Xingwan breaking into the studio and destroying artwork. Chat records reveal that Xinjie bribed people within the industry to alter the ownership of the works. Documents related to capital transactions that led to Gu's family's bankruptcy are also shown. Copies of accident reports regarding the injuries sustained by Gu Xiuyu and Gu Xingwan's eyes are also displayed. A complete chain of evidence is presented before everyone's eyes. The live streaming room is in complete chaos, with comments scrolling wildly on the screen. Xinjie's disguise was completely destroyed. He stepped forward and shouted loudly, "All of this is fake! Gu Xi, you harbor hatred in your heart and deliberately framed me." Forgery? I spoke in a cold and rigid tone, holding the phone in my hand. The recordings, chat messages, and transaction records have all been notarized, and will be submitted to the police simultaneously. The truth will be determined by the judiciary. The chaos in the audience continued to grow. The system in Gu Qingyan's mind began to malfunction severely. The foundation of the system was built upon my death. Now, as I live, I tear apart all the illusions in public, and the shackles begin to break apart. Gu Xiu tried to hold on to me, but I stumbled backward. Pieces of memory that were blocked from access rushed into my mind. Gu Xingwan's eyes were vacant. His hostility toward me quickly disappeared, replaced by a sense of utter confusion. The system is breaking down. The security personnel stepped onto the stage and presented the summons to Xinjie. He struggled desperately, his usual calm and composure having completely disappeared. "It's you who forced me to do this. If you want to blame someone, blame Gu Xi for getting in my way." He was taken away from the scene by the security personnel. The well-laid facade that he had built over the years collapsed completely under the attention of everyone's eyes. I stood on the stage, looking at the three sisters who had just broken free from the constraints of the system. At this moment, they regained their full self-identity, but the suppressed regret and pain still surged within them. Gu Qingyuan cried uncontrollably, Gu Xiu's shoulders trembled, and Gu Xingwan's lips were bitten open, blood seeping out from her fingertips. Many bystanders might think it's understandable that they were controlled by the system. But the one who suffers the harm is me. The system can manipulate one's will, but it cannot erase the real suffering that was inflicted upon me. My voice is calm, without any trace of vengeful excitement. There is only a sense of clear, cold clarity in my voice. The system-induced restrictions have disappeared. You now have the ability to think independently. However, the choices you make and the harm you cause will not be forgotten or erased. Family bonds are long gone. There will be no more interactions between you. The responsibilities that lie ahead should be borne by law and by your own conscience. I put down the microphone, clutched the trophy tightly, and turned to walk off the stage. Behind me, I heard Gu Qingyuan's suppressed cries of pain. Gu Xiu and Gu Xingwan shouted my name in a hoarse voice. I didn't turn around. As I stepped out of the arena, the evening breeze hit me hard. The trophy weighed heavily in my hands, symbolizing the glory that belongs to me. My revenge is almost complete. Xinjie will soon face legal judgment. All the wealth, fame, and prestige he stole will be taken away from him. There was no joy of revenge in my heart. After dying once, I understand that destroying the enemy doesn't mean the pain disappears instantly. Retribution is merely a way to restore justice. It cannot heal the wounds. The police have sent out the information, and the case has been officially registered. We will continue to summon relevant individuals for interviews. I got into my car and placed the trophy beside me. War has not truly ended yet. I must protect my career, completely cut away from all the painful memories of the past. I only live for myself. After the case was filed, a massive wave of public criticism swept through the art community. All of Xinjie's attempts at hiding his true nature were revealed layer by layer. His alleged acts of plagiarizing works of young artists, bribing judges, and using schemes to destroy competitors were all exposed through the evidence. The labels of genius, gentle-hearted, and having a rough fate were all torn apart. All business partnerships were terminated, the art museum removed its exhibits, all of Xinjie's works were removed from online platforms, and his assets were frozen for judicial disposition. I refuse all media interviews. I don't want to use the suffering I've endured to gain attention. Retribution has begun. The rest will be handled through legal procedures. I'm focused on preparing my personal art exhibition, accepting commissioned works, and protecting my own career. I will never indulge in hatred. The Gu family completely collapsed. After getting rid of the system, the three sisters spent their entire lives in deep regret. The damage caused by the system cannot be undone. Gu Xiu was investigated for ignoring my injuries. As a result, her medical license was suspended, and she lost her job. Gu Qingtian also lost all the connections she had relied on Xinjie. Those who used to be her close friends now avoided her. Gu Xingwan's past records of guiding online bullying against me were exposed by netizens. The overwhelming criticism forced her to stay indoors at all times. They tried to contact me many times, through phone calls and text messages, and even waited outside my studio. I ignored all of them. Until one evening, when I finished my work and stepped out of the studio, I saw three people standing on the other side of the road. They looked exhausted, with bloodshot eyes. Gu Qingyuan held an old wooden box in her hands. It was an old item left to me by my parents. When she saw me, Gu Qingyuan stepped forward 2 steps, not daring to cross the traffic flow. Xiao Xi, we don't ask you to forgive us. But there are some things that need to be returned to you. Gu Xiu kept her head down, her fingers tightly gripping the hair, which had turned white from tension. Back then, I had the opportunity to save you, but I was forced by the system to ignore it. It's a small apology, but I still want to say it. Gu Xingwan's throat moved, and her eyes turned red. At that time, there were many negative reviews online. It was I who secretly helped to spread those reviews. I didn't have a sense of self back then, but the mistake was already made. It's only natural that you should hate us. The scenes of cruise ship electrocution, kidnappers' despair, and the bitter taste of death replayed in my mind. I watched them, without any anger or compassion. Regret does not equal redemption. There's no need to bring anything over. Those old things no longer have any meaning. My tone was calm. It's true that you're controlled by the system, but the harm you've caused is something you've done on your own. I will not forgive you, nor will I continue to spend energy hating you. Gu Qingyuan's body trembled slightly. We just want to make up for it, even if it's just a little bit. It's impossible to make up for the suffering you've endured. The hardships you've suffered won't disappear just because you feel regret. The legal judgments will determine your responsibilities, and the torment of conscience is something you have to bear on your own. Please stop interfering with my life. I turned around and left, leaving the suppressed crying behind me. Forgiveness is never an obligation that victims must fulfill. The judicial proceedings are progressing smoothly. Xinjie is found guilty of several charges, and a criminal judgment has been issued. Everything he had stolen has been returned to him. During the trial, he remained filled with resentment, refusing to admit guilt. He shifted all the blame onto others, showing no sign of self-reflection. I watched from the sidelines, seeing him being taken away in prison clothes by the police officers. It felt like a heavy burden had been lifted from my heart. There was no celebration, only a peaceful sense of finality. The civil litigation was also initiated simultaneously. The lawyer submitted all necessary documents, and a civil lawsuit was filed against me for the physical injuries I suffered as a result of being taken by kidnappers back then. During the court mediation process, Gu Qingyuan, Gu Xiu, and Gu Xingwan did not offer any defenses. They completely admitted the facts and agreed to sell the remaining property to cover the costs of compensating me for my bodily injuries. As he stepped out of the court doors, his foster brother, Gu Qin, was waiting for him outside. After reviewing the entire file carefully, his face was filled with guilt. Brother, in the past, I didn't understand anything at all. It was you who saved me, and it was you who carried me away to die. Gu Qin didn't participate in any acts of harm at all. He was, in fact, just a victim of the entire situation. That's not your fault. Live a good life, don't let the past hold you back. Gu Qin wanted to say more, but I waved my hand to end the conversation. The turmoil gradually subsides. I received the compensation, along with my creative income, and my personal exhibition officially opened. That award-winning series of works was displayed in the center of the exhibition hall, attracting countless visitors. The reviews from industry experts were extremely positive. Standing by the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the people flow through the exhibition hall, I regained my reputation and got my right back. But in my dreams, scenes from the cruise still intrude into my nightmares. Revenge breaks the aura of those who caused harm, but it cannot erase the pain. I seek regular counseling with a psychologist, learning to live with these scars. I don't need to force myself to let go of them. I just keep moving forward. The popularity of the art exhibition continues to rise. There are numerous invitations from overseas institutions, as well as long-term contracts from galleries. The market price of my works is also increasing steadily. Others see me as soaring up the ranks, but only I know the wounds that remain beneath all this glory. Gu Qingyuan, Gu Xiu, and Gu Xingwan have completed the execution of the civil judgment and completed the compensation for the property sale. Their lives have fallen to a very low echelon. Gu Xiu worked in a community pharmacy, holding a humble position with a meager salary, avoiding all the old circles he used to belong to. Gu Qingyuan worked as a clerical worker, sorting documents, barely making ends meet. Gu Xingwan deleted his social media accounts and went to work in a small bookstore in a remote town, completely distancing himself from everything related to art. The three of them no longer gathered together, nor did they bother me anymore. They spent their days burdened by the weight of their own conscience. 6 months later, on a rainy day, I drove back to the studio after a virtual conference abroad. While waiting at the traffic light, I felt someone tapping on the window. It was Gu Qingyuan. She wasn't using an umbrella. Her shoulders were soaked with rain. In her hands she held a bag made of craft paper. She didn't dare open the car door to talk through the window. The sound of rain drowned out her voice as she spoke. Shall see, it won't take much of a time. The bag contains the real diaries of my parents during their lifetime. I had hidden them before, but when the system took control of me, I deliberately suppressed those memories. Only after reading them did I realize that my parents were always worried about you. I didn't take it immediately. Rainwater dripped down from her hair into the ground. It's sufficient to simply submit it to the lawyer for filing. There's no need for you to come here in person. The documents will only be sealed up as evidence. Gu Qingtian frowned as she held the paper bag in her hand. I have no right to demand that you read them. These documents belong to you. You can burn them and throw them away whenever you want. I promise, this will be the last time I ask you for these documents. The vehicles behind me honked their horns to urge me to move forward. The green light came on. I remained silent for a moment, then reached out to take the paper bag from them. Remember your promise. Don't show up again. Gu Qingyuan stepped back 2 steps, standing in the rain as she watched my car drive away. Her figure became smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror. Back in the studio, I opened the paper bag. Inside were several yellowed diaries, written in my parents' handwriting. Page by page, I read their words of care for all children equally. I noticed the subtle changes within the family dynamics, as they quietly saved money to provide me with a financial foundation for my creative work. After the Gu family went bankrupt, that savings was taken by my sister, who was affected by the system, to cover the losses. All the savings were now gone. For a long time, I thought that after my parents passed away, I would be completely abandoned. After reading those diaries, all that remained was a sense of sadness and disappointment. There was someone who cared about me, but that care never really affected me personally. I didn't cry, nor did I have any thoughts of seeking reconciliation. The diaries were locked in a safe, never to be opened again, nor discarded at all. Soon news came from the prison. Xinjie, who was still serving his sentence, was still unwilling to accept his failure. He kept submitting appeals, using people to spread word around, trying to contact old friends and relatives in order to get his case overturned. He also instigated his supporters to fabricate evidence against me, claiming that I had deliberately framed him. He always believed that the whole world was at fault for his situation, and that it was all due to my relentless pursuit of revenge. The lawyer called to relay his requests. He wanted to meet with me, claiming that he was willing to disclose certain secrets. He hoped that I could issue a letter of understanding, which would help to reduce his sentence. I sit in front of the painting easel, with the paintbrush hovering above the canvas. I will not meet with him. A letter of understanding is completely unnecessary. It's better to follow the normal legal procedures. Stop spreading his words around. I know very well that when we meet, there will be no repentance. Instead, it will only be another round of schemes and manipulation. 2 months later, the prison authorities issued a notice. Xinjie's request to meet with the judge was rejected, and his appeal was also officially dismissed by the court. All his attempts to change the situation were completely thwarted. I put this matter aside for now, and devoted myself entirely to writing my new novel. I no longer focused on painful struggles. Instead, the narrative shifted towards the lives of ordinary people, their small, warm moments in the wilderness. After experiencing darkness, there's no need to spend a lifetime trapped in darkness. During the weekend, Gu Qin sent a message saying that he had been admitted to a university in another city, and would be leaving this city soon. Brother, I must leave now. The sisters have faced many difficulties, but they continue to atone for their sins. I won't ask for their forgiveness on their behalf. I just hope that they will live a peaceful and smooth life in the future. I replied with just 2 words: take care. No unnecessary flattery. In late autumn, I was invited to attend the National Arts Summit. After delivering my presentation on stage, I walked through the back hallway. There, I encountered Gu Xiyu. She came over to bring supplies of emergency medicines to the venue, wearing a simple work uniform. When she saw me, her steps stopped abruptly. She neither approached me to talk nor tried to avoid me. She simply lowered her head slightly and stepped aside, giving way to the space needed for passage. She said nothing. As we passed each other, I could smell the faint scent of disinfectant on her body. I also noticed the thick calluses on the back of her hands, marks left by years of hard work. That was their final fate. No tragic destruction, no dramatic tragedy. They were deprived of all their privileges, enduring daily the torment of conscience in the midst of ordinary, difficult realities. This was their punishment. But it wasn't my redemption. As I stepped out of the summit building, the fresh evening breeze hit me directly. Xingjin lost his freedom, his reputation, and everything he had acquired through conquest. His 3 sisters sacrificed their wealth and status, carrying a lifetime of regrets with them. I won the lawsuit and regained my business, standing at the top of the industry. All my revenge has been fulfilled. The pain of vengeance is etched into my bones and blood. Completing the revenge doesn't mean I'm completely free from it. The past will never disappear, but I have the right to choose my future. I got into the car, took out my phone, and opened a new blank document. Those miserable pasts, they're over now. From now on, I will live only for myself.